everyone, this is Christina with Getting Crafty Online Classes. Today I'm going to show you how to make the birdhouse from the post today. You're going to need to print out the bird download that I put on the post for you, and it'll look like this. If you don't do the resizing before you print it, this is what happened because I forgot to resize it. And I do have a video posted on how to do that if you missed it the first time. The only two parts that I actually cut out on this were these two parts. These ones, like the roof is 4.5 by 3.5, and then it has your measurements on here already, so you can just go ahead and cut these out however you need to. And then these two I actually cut out and traced and scored. So I'm going to go ahead and move that out of the way. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to start on the raven that I posted for you guys to cut out too. Now I cut him out on regular copy paper, but I didn't want to take the time, since I knew I was only going to use him once, I didn't want to take the time to trace him out and then cut him out all over again when I already knew that I was going to cover him up with glitter. So I actually put him on some cardstock, some basic black cardstock, just to make sure that at least the back would look nice. So I'm going to go ahead, and I also have this small piece. Now that piece is 2 1/4 by like 1/4 of an inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it into a triangle. It doesn't need to be perfect or anything like that. The only thing we're going to use this for is to make the bird stand up on the roof of the house. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold it into a small triangle, and then fold one more little lippy thing, just very, very small. Then I'm going to go ahead and take a glue dot and put it on the small little lippy thing. And I'm going to go ahead and seal those two together. So you have a little standing post for this raven here. Then I'm going to go ahead and put not one, but 2 glue dots on the side that's flatter and shorter, so that he'll be standing straight up. And on the cardstock side, I'm going to go ahead and stick this right at the base of his tail. So that'll make it to where he will stand up. Okay. Then I'm going to flip him over, because I wanted to put that on there before I put this on there in the glitter. So go ahead and take some Tombow. You don't need a ton, but you don't need to have too little. And just cover him entirely. I think that's why I like this Tombow liquid glue, because it has this thick end at the bottom, and it'll help you shove the glue around a little bit if you don't want a really thick coat. Just stick that on there. And then I like using these little cups for my glitter, because it's easier to pour stuff back in for me right away and doesn't take up a whole heck of a lot of room. Tap him off a little bit, and then go ahead and put some more on in the places that were missed. Maybe squish it down a little bit to make sure that they're staying in place. And this is just some black glitter. It looks like I missed a spot on his tail. And I'm just doing this first so that it has time to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and set him aside. Clean up my glitter a little bit here real fast. Because knowing me, I'm going to be wearing this to bed. Okay. Now for the house. Here are the two pieces that I cut out so that I could trace them on basic gray cardstock. And I actually used a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock because I wanted it to be textured. And with the 12 by 12 cardstock, it actually only takes about a third, or two-thirds of the paper. So you're not even using a full piece. And sorry I keep rubbing my hands, I have that glitter all over me. So I have the two pieces. I've actually already sponged mine with a sponge dauber and just went ahead around the sides with basic gray ink. And you can do more, you can do little, you can not do it at all if you don't want to. I went ahead and shaded all of my paper. So here's these two pieces. Now this one, you need to make the door. You don't have to make the door. I'm going to make the door just so that you can see the treats that I'm going to put in on the inside. So this is, you need the 1 1/4 inch punch for this. And to get it exactly, because I want it to match this one, just because I think it's in a great position, I am going to go ahead and take my punch. Whoops. If I can keep the papers from slipping. Take the punch, hold the two papers together, and there we go. So now it's exactly the way it was on this one. Now I can just go ahead and take my sponge dauber and go around the circle part of the door. And that way I have a perfect circle. I don't have to worry about cutting anything out, and it still looks very nice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set these pieces aside for just a moment. And I'm going to tell you about these pieces. This piece is your roof. This piece needs to be 4 1/2 by 3 1/2. And you need to score it down the center at 2 1/4. And then this is textured paper, and since your roof is going to have shingles, I went ahead and I sponged the underside and put the texture on the underside so it would be nice on the underside as well as the top, because your roof is going to hang over just slightly. Okay, so that's your roof. Now, this is your floor, your walls, and your floor. So this piece is 7 1/4 by 3 1/2. You need to score it at 2 1/2 on this side, flip it around, score it at 2 1/2 on this side. That way it makes these two sides at 2 1/2 and this one at 2 1/4. Then these two pieces right here, this is scored at 1/2 inch on each side. Okay? So now I am going to go ahead and I am going to put some sticky strip on both of these sides. And I'm just going to run it right down like so. Because I don't like having to cut a bunch of little pieces if I don't have to. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut like this, because it just makes it easier to match everything up when you cut it like so. And I'm even going to cut the ends like this as well. Everything is getting stuck to my scissors. There we go. Whoops. So now I have everything right here together. I'm going to go ahead and take the red part off. I can get it to come off. I always seem to have trouble with this only when I'm on camera. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Here we go. And here is the last one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the front and I'm going to line this one up first with this seam line and this seam line here. And this is a little bit higher just because my roof, because it needs to go down like this. And then we're going to go ahead and fold this one up and put it right there. But don't worry about this seam down here because we're going to cover that up anyways. And then bring this one around. Now for the back, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start on one side. And go all the way around. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut, oops, I am going to cut that piece off, and I'm going to cut this piece off. So you only have the one side of the roof. So I'm going to go ahead, what I'm going to do first to make sure I get all my pieces just the way that I want them, is you have 7 of the shingles. Now the shingles are 1 by 3.5. So they're going to fit right this way perfectly. However, you have 7. It's not an even number. So make sure you put your shingles on to see how you want them before you actually lay them down. And then one of them, you will end up folding it in half. So this will need to be scored at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to do that really fast on my wonderful little score pad, or excuse me, Simply Scored. This is so new, and we've been saying the other name for so long that just kind of pops out of your mouth. I apologize for that, because ours is way better anyways. So I folded that in half. I'm going to go ahead and sponge that. And then that will be the top of my roof. So I will go ahead and the first one I'm going to start, I'm just going to put some snail, just like this. And I'm actually going to be hanging it over just slightly. Whoops. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. Now the only reason I'm doing it this way is so that I can keep track and make sure that they're even on both sides. That way my roof doesn't look all cattywampus. So this one I'm going to go ahead and go completely down. And I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch. Now you can use your grid paper, and it's 2 squares over. So if I line this up here, and I put this one right up against that line, there we go. And the same one goes for this. Okay, just find a line it up, go over by 2 squares, and there's your 1/2 inch. And then I am going to flip this over and just trim this up a little bit on each side, because I don't want it looking funny. There we go. So there is my roof. Go ahead and bend that. Okay. Now I'm going to put 2 pieces of sticky strip here. One there and one here. Go ahead and take the red off. Make sure they bend in nice. And I'm just going to go ahead and set this on top as even as I can. Whoops, that didn't work. Now, since I left this side to where you could actually open it, I can sit there and press these down. Now you're probably wondering why I left this open. These are my husband's favorites. And so, voila! A trick or treat for my husband. And then it's easier to open and shut. Now we're back to the Raven, and I'm still getting glitter everywhere, so he might not be completely dry yet, but I'm going to go ahead and take some glue dots anyways, or at least one. Whoops, maybe one. There we go. Ooh. And I'm going to go ahead and just stick him on the rooftop. Stick him on that side. And so now we have a bird on our roof. I need something to hang this. So I'm going to go ahead and take some black satin ribbon, and I'm going to cut that off. And then I am going to take my crocodile. I should have done this before I did the bird, but now I didn't remember. Go ahead and punch on that side. Go ahead and punch on this side. And I just put that in, as far as I could get it to go. Then I'm going to stick these through. And straighten them out. Now, you can either just tie a knot right here, but I want it to look a little bit more clean. So I am going to go ahead and take a piece of sticky strip, I'm going to lay it right across the center. And now we're back to me not being able to get this off. So I'm going to pull this into the center and lay it down. And then I'm going to pull this side over and lay this side down. And now I have a little handle for my broom. So I have these very thin magnets and a 1x1 piece of cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and just fold that in half. And then this part, I need to go ahead and put a piece of sticky strip on. Just one side. And then on the side that doesn't have the sticky strip, the same side that has the sticky strip. This gets confusing when you're trying to think of all the mechanics of it. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to stick that one right on top. That way when I put them in there, I can make sure that they match up exactly. Okay, now I just want this to go right here. Whoops. And then I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to pull the roof down. And I'm going to seal the roof. So now that's down, and I can just lift this flap and lift it open. Okay, and when it goes down, it just snaps closed. All right? So that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you have a wonderful, wonderful